Okay, welcome everybody to the May 22nd architecture meeting. Um, so most of the stuff I have on my list is for Utkarsh. Um, and I started looking at what we needed to do for the API endpoint for the MCP. Um, and I just need some more background on what
Mhm.
data that the thing should return.
Okay,
So,
okay.
um,
Uh, May I share my screen? I was
yeah,
working on creating the pseudocode.
yeah.
Let me quickly share.
I have an idea what you want, but I just want to double check before I go off and write everything.
Okay, okay. So here, if you see, let's say, so there are like couple of dependencies that a particular application is using.
Yep,
Okay. So what I had in mind, there might be, some latest dependency. There might be some safe dependencies.
right,
But it's really a challenge sometime, if the latest dependencies have some CVEs to find out which will be the safe dependencies.
right.
And that is where I need, some API level help from Ortelius.
Okay. So, what we will have is we'll know, let's say Alchemy 217 has a vulnerability. Um, we'll in that information about the vulnerability, we'll get a the fixed version.
Okay.
So the fixed version may be like 32. So
Hmm.
2032 would be the fixed version. Um, Even though the latest dependency may be 41. So the latest dependency in the tree that they've released could be 41, but where
Mhm.
the vulnerability in 17 was fixed was in 32. So we have that information.
Okay.
We have the fixed information.
Fixed information.
We do not have the latest dependency information. So that we would
Mhm.
have to go out if you need the latest dependency information. We would have to go out to the individual repositories for that project and
Mhm.
go and query what the latest release is.
Okay. Yeah, that is what I'm doing. So currently, I think this is already sorted.
Okay.
Um, And I think Ortelius will like anyway give us these safe version, the fixed versions.
Yep. So instead of now, that being said, let's say 32 is the fixed version, but when you go out and so this is where it really comes into um, the execution of the build on the pull request. So we would go and create a pull request for 32, and we would submit that pull request. Now, what will happen is the build system for that packet for that application or component should go off and build that. And if it fails, it should if there's a problem with 32 being compatible with everything else. So let's
Okay.
say cryptography um, is incompatible with 32 for some reason.
Hmm.
So what will happen is the build will fail on that branch, on that merge, that pull request, and then what we should do is probably um, we could work our way backwards and go to the and figure out the safe dependency. So you go to
Hmm.
31, do the build again, and then go to 30 and do the build one more time to see if 30 is the safe dependency. Now, what will
Okay.
happen is 30. won't contain the fix. So that's where it's a kind of like a catch-22. So we know 32 is a good dependency to that builds, but I'm sorry, 30 is a good dependency that builds, but it doesn't have the fix because the fix wasn't made until 32. So we'll have to think about in that scenario,
Mm-hmm.
what we probably want to do is um, let them. I don't know if we put 32 out there and just let it fail and let them know that we're trying to upgrade to 32, but you have some coding problems,
Mm-hmm.
and just do like comments in the pull request saying we tried to build with the fixed version, but you need to go and intervene manually to get it resolved.
Yeah, yeah. So I like thought of all those scenarios. So okay, let me walk you through this pseudocode. So
Yep,
what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create a dependency set which will have a dependency name and fixed version which is safe to upgrade.
perfect.
And so here the PR would not be per dependency based, but one PR will have fixed dependency changes. Why I'm doing so? Because here I was planning to also build your application inside a container MCP. So it provides isolated environment where we can run any command for on any repository. So if this particular build is successful, then I'm just assuming all the dependency set versions that are there in dependency set, they are correctly updated, and then we can raise a PR. So it will be like um, fail proof method. So
Yep,
later this PR is not going to fail.
right. Yeah,
And as you said, if the build is failing, so from here we can, retrieve the error messages and all, and return the, like we have to decide if we want to create a PR and create a, error something, error report or something or not.
yeah, and I think that's going to be something that we need to determine how to notify them.
Mm.
That really gets into the notification process. And right now we're assuming that the notification process is um, around a pull request, but maybe, like you said, creating a corresponding issue instead of a PR may be the way to go. So if we're successful, we create the PR. If we fail, we create an issue saying we tried to upgrade um, to the fixed version. Here's the details of what happened. You're going to have to do this manually. Basically, you need to investigate and give them as much information on that side.
That might be the case. Let's say if there's coding changes that have to be made.
Exactly.
And do we know that? Is that in the mitigation? Will they say that a coding changes needs or to be
No,
made, or is it doesn't?
no.
That's not friendly.
So let me show. Let me share my screen. So if we go to, hang on, wrong keyboard. Let me get another keyboard up there. Get the right mouse. Come on. Share. Share. Okay. So let's go to npm. So these are all the malware ones. These are people trying that. All these packages are just junk packages that are going to try to hijack your stuff. So let's see if we and these are just from today.
Mm.
So these are just like, just don't bring them in. Let me see. Here we go. Let me find one. All right. This may have it. All right. So this is kind of the data that you get. So we get this, the score, it's a medium. And in the data, it was introduced in version 0, and it was
Okay.
fixed in 17.2.
Hmm.
So that is the data, and we know the plural, so the repository that it came from. So if we actually go out to
Okay.
their site,
But Steve, one dependency can have a multiple CVE, right? So,
yes,
so is there a possibility like few CVEs have a different fixed version and the other one has a different version?
yes, but they would usually be cumulative.
Okay.
So version version 5, let's say there's a fix for CVEA. So I'll say CVE1 has a fix in version 5. CVE2 has a fix in version 6. Version 6 will typically include the updates to version 5. The developers usually don't branch that way, so it's usually
Okay.
cumulative. So if we look at this, the repo, we can see that they have a bunch of releases. So anything prior to should be a list. Yeah, anything prior to 17.2, 17.1 is going to have that CVE in it. It gets fixed in 17.2, and then 17.3 should include 17.2 just because of the Git history.
Okay. Okay. Along with the fixed data, can I like also get what all CVEs that were already there, which were
Yeah,
like identified?
yeah. So if we look at the raw data of the CVE, um, so this is the GitHub identifier.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the GitHub CVE ID number, and then this is aliased over to the NIST MVD National Vulnerability Database alias. So you
Mm-hmm.
could have either the alias or you can have either one of these showing up in depending on your scanner. So
Mm-hmm.
the Trivi vulnerability scanner may return the CVE alias, and the SIFT SBOM vulnerability scanner may return this other one. But they end up being because they're alias, they end up being the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the raw data, you get your score. So this is the latest scoring methodology. Um, you can see where it was introduced and where it was fixed. Let's go to another.
So Steve, there's a Sonatype or JFrog, or nobody's looking at these and giving recommendations for code updates?
You can, like if we go to the advisory will sometimes lay out what is actually happening. But it's in a description, so it's not very useful. So it just says prior to version 17.2, you can inject code.
Doesn't say how to fix it, is what I'm
No,
looking for.
no, there's nothing to say go. Uh, so if we actually go look at back to that,
Man, Kate, we need to start tracking gaps in CI/CD cybersecurity, and that would be one, right?
So in this case, if you look at this release, there is, let's see if they refer to anything in there about the fix for that vulnerability.
Because the only way you would know then if a coding change is needed would be to test it.
Well,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is, yeah, so this is on, so one of the things that is pretty well assumed is you're not going to break backward compatibility. So between 17.1 and 17.2, the people consuming this package, this Hubble package, are not going to have to change their code because everything is backward compatible.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is you just rebuild with the correct package version.
So what you're saying is there may be a backward compatibility flag that we could look for. If it's
Well,
backward compatible, then it could be pushed forward. If it's not backward compatible, there may be a problem.
yeah, and what will happen is, let me see, let me think of an example of one that, log4j.
So I'm asking a dumb question. If the
Yep.
safe version is not working, instead of going backward, can we actually go forward? Because for some of those vendor products, when we actually found that one particular release having issues in our system, when you go to their support team, they normally advise you go for the latest.
Right. And that is, so you could jump to the latest version. So in that example that we're just looking at, so let me go back.
Or instead of go to the latest, can we just say, like, as you mentioned before, version 32, it's the safe version, but it failed in the build. So can we move on to version 33 instead of go to version 40 as the latest one?
We could try going either direction on that, but more than likely, if 32 failed the build, that 33 will fail the build as well. It's one of those you could try going either direction. You can either go down a version or up a version, but more than likely the correct. I think the easiest way for us would be just to say we tried applying a security patch to your repository to fix this CVE, and your build failed because of this error message due to some backward compatibility issues. Here's the log of what the build issues were. That's what I would throw out there.
Yeah, I think we should direct like what all safe versions are there rather than doing more engineering on build side and code side.
Yeah, I think trying to traverse forward or backwards through the version tree would be a little more work, and I don't think we'll get the results that we would expect for the amount of work that we put in.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, 17.2 is the fixed version, but they've already released the latest is 17.3. So you could theoretically go to the latest version, but a lot of developers want to minimize the amount of jumps that they're doing in their versions. So just because there's more exposure when you go from like in Utkarsh's scenario, going from all the way up to 40, which would be the latest. You got a lot of little changes that come into play that would be more testing on their part. So I would say going to the first fixed version would be the safest way to go. Just to minimize the amount of risk, would be the best way I could describe it. Does that help?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let me show you how backward compatibility is, because I've run into this with actually at Ortelius. So where is the version tree? So what they have is you have the 1.2x version, which is kind of like the latest versions. So this has to do with updating your code base, because there's actually, they broke backward compatibility between 1.1 and 1.2. So when you see a major jump here between 1.1 and 1.2, that usually will indicate that there's a backward compatibility issue, that you would have to go into your code, make coding changes to start using 1.2. What they'll do is they will still apply fixes to the older versions. So in this case, they're applying fixes to 1.1.3 and the 1.1x and the 1.2x. So they're actually maintaining two separate branches, the latest 1.2 and the latest 1.1. So that's how backward compatibility is usually dealt with. Does that help clarify backward compatibility?
Yep.
So for example, so here's even the latest stuff. So there's going to be a backward compatibility break more than likely between 3.0 and probably 2.17. So they've changed something. Going from 2.17 to 2.18 would probably work, but going from 2.17 to the latest 3.0 would not work. So when you look at latest has to be within that version schema. So if there's a problem like here, the vulnerability, let's see if it tells us what the vulnerability is. So there's the vulnerabilities, and let's see if it says direct vulnerability. So it's 2.17.0. Let's see if it's gonna come on. So if we go over to OSV dev, not that one, not that one. And search vulnerability database. Oops. Is that the right number? Can't tell if I copied it right. Oh, there it went. All right. So, nope, I lied. Somehow I closed. Let's look at this. That must be it. We'll see. Yeah. Nope, I grabbed the wrong one. But what will happen is it will get information about the fix, and the fix in that log4j example would probably be going up to the latest. So copy that. Try this again. Something's going crazy on my laptop. So there's 4832. So you can see all the references. So these are all the coding. So this is the actual issue. So you got all this stuff where people found it, how they were verifying it, where who showed up. So in this case, if we look at the fixed version, so it is in all of the two-star versions. So 17.1, 17.0, 17.1, and it was fixed in the 17.1.1 Debian version. Oh, I'm on. Let's go to GitHub. I was at the wrong. So these are the actual commits showing the fix. So it was introduced in 0, fixed in 17.1.1. So that's kind of the detail that you get from the packages. So in our Maven case, our Log4j case, the vulnerability was in 2.17.0, and it was fixed in 2.17.1, even though the latest version is 2.17.2. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the latest version is 3x is the latest version, but the latest version is probably going to be a breaking change that you have to make coding changes for. So what you want to do is you want to stay within that the major version if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, if the code is breaking, usually like people do not expect code changes whenever, they upgrade like minor versions or something.
Exactly.
If they are going to, upgrade something on a major version side, like moving from a .NET 8 to 9, those kind of changes are considered to be a migration changes, right? So
Right.
anyway, the build is failing, so we can create a issue saying them you need to migrate your code.
Yep. So that will be usually like a coding task that they'll put into a sprint saying, I'm going to
Right.
upgrade. We need to upgrade from .NET version 8 to .NET version 9. And then they'll have a whole sprint to deal with it to get it working. And when that happens, they'll do a lot more testing around it to see even though they get it to compile, maybe some of the functions and stuff just don't work as they used to. They return different data slightly, for example. So in our case, we're going to be dealing with the minor version bumps.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I already have a boilerplate code ready. So if we can create a repository, I'll start committing code there.
Yeah, I think you have ability to create repos.
Okay, okay, I'll create one then.
Yeah, you should be. If not, just reach out to me and I'll get you permissions to do it.
Oh, okay.
And so what I need to know from the API side is what data that you need from Ortelius. So what I was thinking is I may need to return all the applications that have been deployed that have a vulnerability and what the vulnerability ID is and the fix. So I think I'm going to give you a table of environment, application, component, package, broken version, and fixed version.
Okay.
And I think if I return all that, you'll be able to, and probably the repo, the
Yeah.
corresponding repo, and maybe some Git info, like a commit. So given all that, I think that we can make the Ortelius MCP then, if that's all in its context window, when you go and start asking it questions, we can communicate the necessary data back and forth in the model.
Yep. Makes sense.
I think that's the way it's going to work.
Yeah. There's only one way to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, like
Oh,
few months. Mhm.
speaking on that, I know one of the Los Alamos projects is using the Postgres vector option or feature where Postgres can return a vector. Does that help at all?
PG vectors.
Yeah,
Right now,
PG vectors, that's it.
we would use later. That is what I was going to talk about. So, few months back, you shared me one repository and BigQuery URL, right?
Yeah.
When I was like doing something on a scorecard thing. So somehow if we can have a data where we can find out these particular versions, they work totally fine for a particular build, that will give like more give an edge to our LLM.
Okay.
And because I saw there are like more than 10 million repository data
Yeah.
when I was reading that, but I don't know how to work with that kind of data. So if we can get some help from John Wallace, that would be great.
I
Yeah.
could reach out to him.
Yeah, so just in GitHub, there's 350 million repositories.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
we'll clean all those up.
that's the public side. So there's going to be more on the including private repos as well. But a lot of those are just personal. I would imagine a lot of them are personal repositories, not really having anything to do with open source packages that are being consumed and stuff like that. I know for like a simple Hello World Node.js I'm working with as one of my demo apps, it has like 1,000 dependencies just to print out Hello World. So I will look at putting together that the query for to return that stuff.
Okay.
And we can always add and change it. It's a pretty simple query to pull that stuff together.
Okay. I'll work on this platform then.
Yeah.
Yep. And Jing, you wanted to test this, right?
Or to get involved doing this, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'll start committing the code, and like you can follow the README, to run that particular thing on your machine. And yeah, still we are like discussing the architecture is not yet completed, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, as we go along later when everything is concrete, you can start working on the documentation piece.
Do you mind share me the link?
Yep. I haven't created the repo yet. And
Okay.
great.
Yeah, once you done then. Yeah.
Okay.
I can try on my testing machine.
It's nothing. I can just give you a quick demo.
Arvin, what was that second link that you dropped in? The A2A?
So like, remember, all the people are talking about MCP, but there is a new thing now, ACP, Agent Context Protocol. And Google created the first library, A2A, that you can check.
Okay.
So basically, ACP is another wrapper over MCP. So,
Okay,
but like we'll be using MCP because there we have a flexibility to add more tools.
right.
So ACP is more like a agent for this, agent for that. So in the back end, they have integrated some specific MCPs, by them.
Got it.
And yeah, also ACP is very new.
Yep. So, Ching, what you have to do, this is the code repo I'm going to commit. You have to install the npm dependency. Make sure you have a npm installed. I'll share you the environment variables. You need to create an environment file,
Yep.
and then don't do anything, just run this.
Okay.
So after this, when you run this particular command or give any repository, it will try to generate something like this. So it will start scanning each dependencies one by one,
Mhm.
and at last give the response.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, I have a play with it once you're done. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Ping me if you face any problem.
will do.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, push that up to the Ortelius repo prod org,
What should I
and
name it?
it doesn't matter. Dependency, whatever you had it. What was it called? Dependency AI bot.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's. I would say instead of dependency AI bot, say security AI bot.
Mm-hmm.
So call it a security AI bot for the repo name. Okay, it sounds like we have a game plan. Any other questions? Did we answer all the questions about versioning, backward compatibility, how we're going to jump to fixed versions,
Yep.
how we're going to avoid making coding changes
Yes.
and just create issues instead?
I don't know if I got all of that stuff in the document.
That's okay.
Well, when we hang up, you can give me a list of that again.
I'll update the doc.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody. Just reach out if you need any info or help. We'll be here.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks,
everyone.
Arkash.
Thanks,
Yes,
Ryan.
bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.